Welcome all to the next episode of Brews and Banter. Tyler, what are you drinking today?
Today I am drinking a Craftwell cocktail. It's a pineapple margarita, 10.5%.
So going hard today. Man, I just got this cold smoked Scotch ale. It's nice and tasty.
Fills you up, huh?
Very much so. But those are our brews. Let's get to some banter. Welcome to Brews and Banter. So, big week in football this week. Lots of games. Again, God bless us for the holiday fixtures. So,
God bless them.
Let's dive right into it. First game up, Everton and Brighton. Brighton wins 4-1, 3 goals in 5 minutes and 5 seconds. Thoughts?
Brighton slayed Everton on this one, man. It wasn't even a contest. I mean, it started out, Mitoma got a goal for Brighton in the 14th minute, and it was just downhill for Everton from there.
Yeah, I mean, how good does Mitoma look this season?
He looks incredible, man. He is killing it right now. He got that goal against Arsenal, comes back, gets a goal against Everton. So, yeah, kudos to him, man. He's playing very well right now.
Yeah, he's making defenses look like Swiss cheese at the moment. So,
Brighton got a nice young talent there.
Yeah, that one goal that last goal, for Brighton.
Comedy of errors.
How bad was that back pass?
It's laughable. That's how bad it was. It was terrible back pass. Who was it? Idrissa Ganagay tries to make a back pass to who knows who. His defender, his goalkeeper.
He was making a back pass to Pascal Gross. That's who it was.
Like, that's who it was.
Directly to him as if he was on the same team.
Passed it to basically the wrong team, and Pascal Gross. I mean, credit to Gross, man. He had a nice little chip right over Pickford to
it was beautiful. But, that was a really bad play on his part. It was. And I mean, Everton gets a stoppage time penalty kick just to,
consolation
let them
goal.
Walk out with a little bit of pride, but that was
consolation goal. That's all that was.
Yeah. Next up, we got Leicester versus Fulham. Fulham, 1-0. Just keeping that run going. That 4 victories in a row.
Yeah, and what place are they sitting in? Let me look at the table here.
They're
seventh place.
They're in 7th. Yeah. Even on points with Liverpool. That's
fantastic for Fulham.
Yeah.
Mitrovic, the man again, scores the 1 goal.
Right. He pops up everywhere and he gets it, but what an assist by Willian. That's the kind of magic we were looking for as Arsenal fans when we signed him.
That was a fantastic assist by Willian. That ball over the top to Mitrovic, yeah. That was beautiful ball.
Yeah, that was only a pass that you dream of.
And Leicester are in trouble.
Yeah, Leicester are in trouble, and Fulham are flying high. So, next up, we have Manchester United against Bournemouth. Man United ran away with this one, 3-0. Marcus Rashford's on fire. How about that Donny van der Beek tackle, though? Or tackle on Donny van der Beek?
Ooh, that one's going to hurt for a while for poor Van de Beek. Was it a red card?
I think so.
You do?
There's nothing in the rules that say accidental contact is still not dangerous play.
See,
I think he almost snapped his leg in half. I think the guy, Marco Senesi, didn't get a single card for that. That needs to be a minimum of a yellow card. I think it should have been a red.
This is where you need an orange card, man. Because, yes, it was more than a yellow, but I don't think it was quite a red. I mean, he don't get me wrong, the tackle looked nasty, but it's because he slips. It was accidental. He slips. And so I think that's what makes it bad. And so it's not intentional. He's not trying to hurt Van de Beek. But he does. And so maybe I guess it is a red. I don't know. I felt like that would have been harsh. But I definitely sympathize.
A red, and then on the appeal, just be like, okay, you had time served, no suspension after that. But I still think that's got to be at least.
I think if I had to choose, I would say no to a red card. Like I said, it needs an orange.
Go sit in the corner and think about what you did.
But I mean, he didn't mean to do it. The poor guy slipped and went into him, and so I think that's why it wasn't a red. But it was nasty, definitely.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Van de Beek
it was
is
nasty,
okay.
and I'd be happy if I never had to see that on video ever again. I mean, yeah. Right afterwards, though, you had what a free kick from Christian Eriksen to Casemiro.
Oh, put it on a platter for him, man.
Oh yeah, couldn't have wrote it up any better. And then Marcus Rashford gets the third man on fire. Can anyone stop him?
You know, he seems to be that player that just goes off of form. Like, if he's in good form, positive attitude, the guy is unstoppable. But if he's, a little bit in a slump or a bad attitude kind of a game, then he struggles. But he's firing right now, man. And so is your young player you mentioned, Garnacho.
Yeah.
He looks really good.
Up. Yeah, he's looking real good. That front line of Man United, it doesn't matter how they play it. They're looking dangerous right now, and with City on deck, it's going to be an intriguing affair.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
All right, and then we got the big game. Arsenal versus Newcastle. This might have been the most frustrating game I have ever watched in my entire life.
For an Arsenal fan, yeah.
Yeah.
Newcastle fan, you're pretty happy walking away from the Emirates.
If I'm a Newcastle fan, I'm absolutely ecstatic. The team that
0-0 draw
this season, 0-0 draw. Apparently, ESPN calculated there was actually only 43 minutes and 17 seconds of actual football played in this game.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So kudos to Newcastle. Probably the greatest time-wasting tactics I've ever seen.
I mean, if that's how you beat Arsenal, you don't let them play. You can't play if there's the ball stopped.
Right? It's like Man City. Other team can't score on you if they don't have the ball. Well, Arsenal can't score on you if you don't let them play.
Yeah, and this was the first game Arsenal have failed to score in a game in the Premier League.
Yeah, it only took them 17 games.
So
that's pretty impressive.
Kudos to Arsenal offense, and then kudos to Newcastle's defense.
Yeah. And, I mean, the big talking points of this game, though, are the two instances Mikel Arteta calls scandalous. 2 PK shouts. The first one against Gabriel from Dan Burn, essentially trying to rip his jersey off of him. Do you think it was a penalty?
It's tough, man. I mean, that happens, all the time. Sometimes it's called, sometimes it's not. So it's one of those, it wasn't that time. So obviously, as an Arsenal supporter, you're going to scrutinize it. But again, it's given sometimes and it's not given. So if it wasn't given, then it's not given. I mean, ref made his decision. Kind of just have to accept it, move on. It's not a huge shout out, I would say. There's definitely a shout there to be had. But again, like I said, you see him given, see him not given.
For me, it's Tim Howard brought up something that was very intriguing. It was, if that happens anywhere but in the box, it's automatically called for a foul.
Yeah, but do you see it all the time on corner kicks and things like that, and they're not given?
Because of that, it was blatant and obvious. Gabriel, okay, maybe he wouldn't have got to the ball, but he had a chance to go for it, and because of it, I've seen penalties given for much less in the Premier League. I'm
sure you've also seen them not given for much more.
Yeah. So it could go either way. I thought it was a penalty, much more than the next one we're going to talk about.
The handball.
Which is the 95th minute handball call. Granit Xhaka goes to cross it. Was that a penalty?
No, he's too close.
So for me,
man, I mean, if the guy his arm was in an unnatural position, it was right there, and he can't do anything about it. It would have been a harsh one. Yeah,
I mean, it's like one of those replays you look at. There's not a good view of it anywhere.
No.
So I have to go with the ref on that one. Initially, I thought it was a penalty, and the more I watch it, the less I think it is.
I agree.
Definitely a call there. And as Arsenal fans, we've seen handball calls that are more ridiculous than that one. but I agree. I don't think it's penalty. I mean, Arsenal have a good cause of reason to be able to, debate that, but I don't think it was.
I think their biggest cause for debate would be the extra time that was added. I think it only got 5 minutes, and like you said, only 43 minutes was played.
Yeah, the whole game out of 90. So
yeah,
if this was a World Cup game, it would have been 25 extra minutes. So
would have been a whole nother half right there. So what do you think about that? Kind of going off topic. That extra time kind of rule that the World Cup did with adding, 10, 15 minutes to a game.
Yeah, using an AI system to calculate extra time.
Yeah, like does that actually work? Logistically with a game? Imagine adding that much time onto a game, and I know there's certain schedules and.
Yeah, I mean, imagine being, in the Premier League, you're on your third game in 7 days, and you have to play an extra 20 minutes.
Probably get an extra few games in a season.
That's brutal. Yeah. So, I'm more a traditionalist, and what the ref calls is what the ref calls. I don't agree with 5 minutes, but it's better than the alternative of 20 minutes.
Yeah, and it's one of those things like you love it when it's going for you, but then you'd hate it if it went against you when you're holding on for a win, and then you see 20 minutes go up or 10 minutes go up versus a 5 or 7.
Yeah, and we've definitely seen it all over the place. So, okay, Tyler, on to your game of the week or game to watch. We got Nottingham Forest against Southampton. How'd this go?
See, this was a feisty affair, man. It was a close one. It was ugly, like I kind of said it would be, and Forest come out with a 1-0 win, their first away win of the season. So good for Forest. It gets them out of the relegation zone.
Mm-hmm.
They move up to 15th. So, and Southampton, the wheels are falling off for Southampton. They're sitting bottom of the table, lost 6 in a row. We'll see how long Nathan Jones keeps his job for. I'm guessing not for very much longer. And yeah, they need to start turning it around and quick.
Yeah, they need help fast. It's one of those stories you see them every season where one team is just at the bottom and they, no matter what they do, they can't dig themselves out. Everything's going against Southampton right now. Forest, I mean, I thought that it was a huge result for them. Gets them out of the relegation zone. I mean, they're 2 points above Everton, who also are in the dumps right now. They are not.
They moved into the relegation zone, Everton.
Yeah.
I told you that's my prediction, man. Everton. I hate to see it, but
yeah. But there's only a 2-point gap between 18th and 12th, 18th and 13th.
So there's a lot of teams that are going to be in this
relegation battle. A lot of teams
battle
down there. There will be a lot of movement before the end of the season. Speaking of teams in the bottom, next up was Leeds United against West Ham United. This one ended 2-2.
I would say this was the game of the week, man. It was entertaining. It was fun to watch.
Yeah. Very, very back and forth affair. Both teams had to come back from a goal down. It was super entertaining.
Yeah, Wilfred Gnonto, hopefully I said that right, for Leeds. His first goal, and it was a rocket, man. It was past the goalkeeper for West Ham, Fabianski, before he can even react to it.
Yeah, it's one of those. I'm surprised he even reacted. I would have just watched it.
So that was a great goal. And then Skamaka for West Ham forward. He scored a banger, man. Curler off the inside of the post into the net.
Yeah, I think it's his second or third game in a row scoring. So he's on a roll, which is great for West Ham. They need it wherever they can get goals from right now. But again, leaky defense. 70th minute, let in a goal to Rodrigo, who is arguably Leeds' best player of the season, maybe just above Tyler Adams.
Yeah, he's got 10 goals for the season, so he's doing well for Leeds.
Yeah. Next up, we have Aston Villa versus Wolves in the West Midlands Derby. 1-1. I think fair result, yes?
Yeah, I really liked that first goal by Leeds.
Yeah.
That Daniel Podence goal, he had that lovely footwork to go around a defender and then curls it past Emi Martinez with his left foot.
You mean Wolves?
He had no chance at that one.
Wolves, right? Yeah.
And then Danny Ings ties it in the 78th minute.
Yeah.
And Leon Bailey for Villa, he had a chance to win it, man. He goes around the keeper, and he had the chance, but the angle was a little tight. He was a little off balance, and so he kind of put it wide.
Yeah. I will say that Daniel Proden's goal, that had to be my goal of the week. That was just an amazing individual bit of skill there.
It was. It was great.
All right, next up we got Crystal Palace versus Tottenham Hotspur. 4-0 Spurs. How good were Son and Kane today?
Yeah, they looked really well, but it was a little harsh on Palace, man. That first half, if you watched it, it's kind of similar to the Spurs and Brentford game where it took them a half to wake up. Because Palace, they dominated that first half, had most of the chances, looked good. You know, honestly, watching that game, I thought the second half, Palace were going to come out and win it. But nope, Spurs woke up, hit 2 quick goals, and there you go. That's all she wrote. Harry Kane has 2 goals in that game. I think he's on 15 goals for the season. So he's...
Yep. I know everybody's talking about Erling Haaland, but quietly, Harry Kane is having a wonderful season yet again.
Yeah, and when doesn't he? I mean, he's always up there at the top.
Yeah.
For that golden boot.
Speaking of Harry Kane, him and Heung-min Son pass Sadio Mane and Mohamed Salah for the most games a duo for the same team have scored at 34. How impressive is that, and how much worse is Tottenham without those two?
It's very impressive. Good for Kane and Son. But yes, if Tottenham don't have those 2 players, they would be hurting. But at the same time, you know, if they were to sell those 2 players, they would obviously get a very pretty penny and probably could bring in some good talent.
Yeah, I agree. And again, like you said before, I am so surprised that both of them still are playing at Tottenham and that they have lasted this long there. So kudos to them for the loyalty. You don't see that much in football anymore.
No, you don't.
All right, now we got the big Premier League game of the week. Manchester City against Chelsea. I'll be honest, this one was a little bit of a snooze fest.
I kind of figured
City
it would
winning
be.
1-0.
Honestly, I figured it would be. Like, I almost predicted a 1-0. And yeah, I mean, even in the first half, Pep going out there with some different tactics, different formations, and it could tell the players weren't quite into it from their performances. He made a couple halftime substitutions to kind of get back into that more natural formation, and then it showed. City obviously started dominating after that, but neither of them looked very good. I will say that.
No, and on top of that, just to make things worse, you get for Chelsea, I mean, their injury problems are already bad enough, but you got Raheem Sterling going off in the 2nd minute, and then Christian Pulisic going off in the 22nd. There's 2 of your best players out of already 8 on the bench.
Huge blow.
It's hard for them to do anything at this point.
That's a huge blow. I mean, and then you can't blame poor manager Graham Potter there at Chelsea. I mean, what do you do? He can't do nothing about injuries. He's only been there a short time. I know some are already asking for his head, but the poor guy can't catch a break. He's got all these injuries, can't get the players he even wants to play out there. And then we'll see if he can bring some of the players he wants in this transfer window. They've brought in a couple youngsters already, Badiashile and Fofana. We'll see what else they can get.
Yeah, I mean, I know the money's there. It's just like looking at the team right now, is anyone going to want to go there? I mean, 10th place, Champions League is looking very unlikely next season. I mean, they're already 10 points,
Champions League.
10 points out of the Champions League, but they're also only 10 points above the relegation zone. Just shows you how far Chelsea has fallen this season. Yes, I think they should stick by Graham Potter, just because we went through the similar thing a couple of years ago with Arteta, and look how it's gone now. Graham Potter's a great coach. You got to give him enough time to get the players he wants in, but it's not looking good for Chelsea. That's for sure.
No, I mean, you saw Aubameyang. He was the sub who got subbed off, so they definitely have some players that aren't playing very well.
Yeah. I don't think Aubameyang's played well for a long time. So
honestly, Kepa, I think, on that goal that was scored by Riyad Mahrez.
That was...
I thought he could have got it.
It was like one of those slow rollers that goes by in slow motion. You just see him hesitate, and then the ball is by him. It was only like 2 feet away from him. He could have easily just jumped on it and got it. But hesitation, and it's a goal.
And it wasn't just Kepa's fault. I mean, Cucurella on that play too. He saw Mahrez. You see him look over his shoulder, and he sees him, and then Mahrez he wanted the ball more, got in front of him, and was able to get on the end of it. And credit to Pep Guardiola, made a couple changes, brought on Jack Grealish, brought on Riyad Mahrez, and Jack Grealish passes it to Riyad Mahrez for the goal, and they win 1-0.
Yeah, and arguably the biggest impact sub for Manchester City, Rico Lewis coming on at halftime for Cancelo. Guy's only 18, but he changed the entire flow of the game right off the bat.
I mean, and credit to Rico Lewis, man. He's been playing under Pep now for quite a few years. So, I mean, he knows how Pep wants to play. And so, obviously, that gets passed on down to the youth level. And so, it's showing now and getting some first-team appearances.
Yeah, definitely. He's definitely one to watch for the future. And
for sure.
Something we are not used to seeing from Manchester City, which is youth prospects coming through the first team. So
that aren't named Phil Foden.
No, yeah, not many Phil Fodens. So, all right, next to one of my favorite competitions in the world, the magic of the wonderful FA Cup. No surprises for the first game. Manchester United versus Everton. Man United steamroll Everton, just piling on the pressure on Frank Lampard. Anthony gets the scoring first, but how about that Connor Cody goal?
A little lucky. I mean, I forget who crossed it into the middle, but it goes between De Gea's legs and then kind of bumbles in front of Connor Cody, and he taps it in, but then the poor guy that scores an own goal at the other end. So,
yeah,
make of that what you will.
Yeah. Welcome to the luck of world football, I guess.
And then, Rashford kills it off in stoppage time at the end to make it 3-1.
Yeah.
United walk away, going to the next round.
I think that's 7-7 for him now. So he's on fire. Again, like you said, he's a very streaky player. So we'll see how long he can keep it going. But it's definitely on fire right now.
Yeah.
Next up, we had Bournemouth against Burnley. Burnley wins 4-2.
You called it.
I thought it was even more lopsided than the score suggested.
Honestly, it was a fun game to watch. There was lots of opportunities for each team. Bournemouth definitely didn't do themselves any favors in that game.
No.
They definitely gave away a couple goals. Goalkeeper getting caught on the ball outside of his 18 box. And so, I mean, yeah, Bournemouth, they're in a downfall. I think I was praising them here a little while ago. Before the World Cup, they were playing really well.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, they're not looking good. They need to turn this around or they will find themselves in that relegation zone.
Yeah, I feel like the relegation zone at this point, it's who's going to be worse than everybody else because they're all bad right now.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Next up, we had Middlesbrough versus Brighton. It was Michael Carrick's first game managing Middlesbrough, but Brighton are just on fire. They win this one 5-1.
Oh, yeah, it wasn't even really a competition. I mean, Burrow's one goal was definitely against the run of play, scored by Chupa Akpom.
Former Arsenal product right there.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, Brighton, they fielded a strong squad. Alex McAllister comes back, scores 2 goals. He had a beautiful flick kind of behind the heel flick goal. So Mitoma looked good again in that game.
Yeah, he's definitely one to watch, let me tell you. But Brighton are on a hot streak. I mean, that's 9 goals in 2 games. It's impressive.
Yeah.
Next up, we got my game to watch of the week. Coventry versus Wrexham. Man, was this a good game. 7 goals. 5th tier Wrexham beats championship side Coventry at Coventry. Wrexham were up 2-0 in the first 20 minutes. Completely against the run of play, might I add. Coventry had 61% possession in this game. Wrexham with only 39%. But, I mean, Coventry scored in the 36th minute. Wrexham were up 3-1 at halftime. But, I mean, Coventry kept it interesting. They had a guy sent off in the 57th minute, giving away a penalty. Wrexham went up 4-1. Coventry got 2 goals back. But the Cinderella story in Wrexham continues on, and they will play another championship side in the 4th round in Sheffield United. So, very exciting for Wrexham and their owners, Rob McElhaney and Ryan Reynolds. May it long last. All right, next one up we had was Liverpool and Wolves. This one was very intriguing. You had Cody Gakpo's debut.
Yep.
You have a woeful Liverpool side at the moment, and a Wolves side you never know is going to show up. This one ends 2-2.
Yeah, I mean, the first goal, Allison, huge mistake with trying to pass the ball out, kicks it right to a Wolves player, and he puts it away. Then Nunez equalized. Then Mo Salah puts him up. And then did you see that Wang Hee-chan goal? It's kind of a funny one.
Yeah.
Lots of deflections and kind of bounce off of him and rolls past Allison.
Yeah. And then the Wolves had a goal, which they thought was the winner, off of a corner.
Yeah.
81st minute. Ruled out for offsides. VAR takes a look at it, but can't overturn it because there's not a camera that covers the corner flag. What do you think?
I don't know. I was looking at the replays and I didn't see it. It was tough for me to see. I was like, maybe VAR just cut that one over me. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I understand you said you couldn't see it, but like I literally couldn't see it. Guy passes.
I didn't see an offside in the replay. I don't know where it was from.
I didn't either. I don't know where they got that from. Wolves should have won this one. Again, brings up the question of VAR and how the referees in England use it, and why are they so bad at it? I don't understand it.
So bad.
It's everywhere. It's not just against the big teams at this point. It's every game, it seems like. So, and then we had Sunday, City and Chelsea Part 2. Unlike the first one, which was a snooze fest and close, this was a blowout. City winning 4-0. Thoughts?
Honestly, that free kick from Mars, man, that was a beauty of a free kick.
There's no way any goalie in the world saves that. That was absolutely perfect, albeit for a slight deflection. I don't think any goalie is stopping that without the deflection either.
Yeah, and both teams still fielded a pretty strong squad. Chelsea the best it could with the players they have. But, I mean, City, you could tell they rested a few players. Kevin De Bruyne didn't play. Erling Haaland didn't play. I think Rodri didn't play. So, I mean, they still sat some players out, but it was still a fairly strong squad. You still see Riyad Mahrez out there, and Julian Alvarez as their backup, obviously, is fantastic backup to Erling Haaland.
Right.
He scores.
And you got the ever-present Phil Foden.
Yep, Phil Foden. Great
team move. Easy one-touch finish. And then, Chelsea's woes continue. They can't catch a break at the moment. They're fielding kids. It's nice to see Omari Hutchinson make his second appearance.
Yeah.
But it's hard to watch Chelsea right now.
Yeah, it is. They're hurting. But kind of going off subject, did you see the banter from Kepa during that PK?
Yeah, I did.
Getting right up into
Julian Alvarez's face.
Yeah, getting into his face, trying to psych him out.
Trying to do his best impression of Martinez.
He was watching Emi Martinez at the World Cup, decided to try his own stuff.
Yeah, and then you get Julian Alvarez who just laughs at him and then slots it past him.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah, it was a nice attempt by Kepa.
Got a hand to it.
He's not a strong enough personality to be able to pull that off, though.
No.
All right. Well, other notable results we got. Monday, we got Oxford against Arsenal. Arsenal going back to their infamous all-white kits that support anti-knife violence, which is pretty cool. However, those jerseys will be known for their loss last year in the FA Cup against Middlesbrough wearing the same jerseys. See how it goes. Winner plays City.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough matchup in the 4th round.
Yeah, especially with how congested the fixtures will be. we'll see how strong each team is when we get there. But other notable results, we got Spurs beat Portsmouth 1-0. Southampton beat Crystal Palace 2-1. Huge result for the confidence of Southampton.
Yeah, definitely helps. Again, I watched that game, Crystal Palace. I feel like those goals were from mistakes. They weren't built on by Southampton. It was because of mistakes from Crystal Palace.
Well, good on Southampton for capitalizing on them. Got to be able to do that at least. So, Leicester beat Gillingham 1-0. Blackpool beat Forest 4-1. Leeds tied Cardiff 2-2.
Did you call it Gillingham?
Yes.
Pretty sure it's Gillingham.
Okay. Whatever. Stevenage, huge result for them. They come back to beat Aston Villa 2-1. They were down 1-0 in the 88th minute.
Good for them. Yeah, they did. They came back. It was Villa looked really good in that game. Like the first half, the traffic was all going for Villa. I mean, it's tough. I mean, they're playing. They did play a lot of their, I would say second string players. But when your second string players include Philip Coutinho, you expect them to win.
Yeah,
and yeah,
especially against Stevenage, who are in League One.
So credit to Stevenage. Good job on them.
Mm-hmm. And then lastly, probably my shock result. You got Sheffield Wednesday beat Newcastle 2-1, albeit Newcastle didn't play a super strong squad.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of explains it right there.
Yeah. Other games from around the world, we had some big ones this week. Let's start off in Spain, and then we'll head to Italy. Villarreal against Real Madrid. Villarreal taking the surprise result, winning 2-1. Your boy Jeremy Pino coming out, shocking Madrid.
Yeah, I mentioned Jeremy Pino as a youngster to watch in Spain. As much as I want to praise it, that goal he scored was very lucky.
Yes.
He has a shot. Courtois saves. He thinks he saves it, but when he goes off of his glove, hits into his defender and goes in the back of the net. And I thought Madrid were a little hard done by in this game. Like that was a pretty lucky goal that Jeremy Pino scored. Then they had a PK called against him that I also thought was rough. David Alaba kind of is falling to the ground and puts his arms out to catch himself, and the ball hits his arm as he's trying to catch himself. And so there's your luck, Real Madrid. Unfortunately, you can walk away with no points, and Villarreal come away with 3.
Exactly. It's a bunch of crazy defending in this game as well. I mean, you got Juan Fruith, goal line clearance, only to have VAR rule it a handball and give a penalty.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that. 'Cause I'm pretty sure it ended up going
equalized. Yeah, they called it in.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was crazy. So good on Villarreal, though. The Yellow Submarine marches on again.
That's a tough game for Real Madrid, though, because now they are no longer in first place in La Liga. They dropped down to second. Speaking
of first place in La Liga, we got Atletico versus Barcelona. Barcelona pulls out this one 1-0. Goal from Dembele.
Yeah, that was a scrappy game.
Very. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw
Atletico looked good in spots in this game. They were very streaky. It's like when they wanted to turn the Jets on, they looked like they were going to score. I mean, right before halftime, they had 3 solid chances. Probably should have scored 2 of them.
Yeah. But credit to Barca. I think Araujo had a couple. I know he had one ball that he cleared off the line.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the one you mentioned right before halftime.
Yeah, I mean, Griezmann should have scored, Molina should have scored, and then Jimenez with a wide open header puts it wide.
He had some headers, yeah.
So, and then I missed the end of this game, but you saw it. 2 red cards?
Yeah, there was 2 red cards at the end of this game. Savage and Ferran Torres, man, they were wrestling. This wasn't a football match. This was a wrestling match, man. They were going at it. Looked like some headlocks going on, and both of them get sent off. It was pretty wild.
Oh, bringing it back to the ages of the WWE. I love to see it. All right.
I thought they were John Cena out there.
Yeah, I mean, couldn't see him either. Barcelona and Madrid deadlocked at the top going into this weekend. Barcelona's up 3 points now. How big is that for Barcelona?
Huge, man. That's a huge, especially against Atletico. That's a tough game for Barca. They got 3 points out of it. Real Madrid lose points. So, I mean, good weekend if you're a Barcelona fan.
Yeah, puts them top of the table, and Atleti's fifth. If I'm not wrong.
Yeah, fifth. So they're a good 14 points behind Barcelona.
Wow. Yeah. Strange to see that, but huge result for Barcelona. So let's fly over to Italy. Earlier this week, we had huge match in the opening fixtures of the Serie A after the World Cup. We have Inter Milan versus Napoli. Napoli was undefeated coming into this game. Now they're not. Inter Milan wins 1-0 in a huge game for Inter Milan.
Huge. Definitely brings them sort of back into the title race. You know, they're sitting in fourth place on 34 points. Still 10 points behind Napoli. But still, they needed a good result coming out of the World Cup, and they got it.
Yeah. Huge.
It's a huge blow for Napoli.
Yeah. Luckily for Napoli, this weekend we had another big game. Milan versus Roma. That one ended 2-2. Milan dropping 2 points in the title race. Napoli really needed those.
Yeah, this was a great weekend for Napoli, except for that midweek game. Going into the weekend, Milan drawing, man, they were up 2-0. Looked like they were cruising, and no, Roma had other plans. I believe it was a corner and a free kick that they scored off of, a couple headers, and it ends 2-2.
Yeah, but with that draw, Juve moves into second. You see that coming this season with the way they've been playing?
I didn't, but I don't know if it'll hold off. I think Milan, Rafael Leao, man, he looks really good for Milan. I think he can kind of help boost them up at least in the second. We'll see.
That Milan team is stacked, and they look real good. Juventus, they've played some lowly teams. I don't think that lasts very long.
No, and then kind of just to mention Inter Milan again, jumping back to them, they tied here on Saturday.
Yeah.
Tied Monza 2-2, so they also dropped points. So that's what I mean when it was a pretty good weekend if you're a Napoli fan, with Milan and Inter dropping points this weekend.
Yeah, especially if you're going to lose a midweek game to one of them. It was a very good weekend for you. All right, so that was our recap. This week's preview, and we got a couple of things happening midweek. Carabao Cup quarterfinals, Tuesday and Wednesday. Chelsea's back in action in the EPL on Thursday the 12th against Fulham.
That should be a good one. That's a big game.
Fulham's
Chelsea
riding
need to
high.
win that.
They've won 4 out of their last 5. Chelsea's won and drawn one of those each in their last 5. They don't look very good. Fulham's on fire.
Fulham is.
I don't know if they can stop them.
I don't know if they can either. I mean, Fulham, they're in 7th place. Chelsea's in 10th. So
yeah. Fulham's 3 points
one.
ahead of Chelsea. Chelsea have a game in hand, but I don't see Chelsea winning this game with the injuries they have and the form they're in.
Yeah, I think I might agree with you.
All right, and then in Spain this week, we have the semifinals of the Spanish Supercopa. We got Real Madrid versus Valencia and Real Betis against Barcelona. Winners of those games play on Sunday for the Supercopa.
Might get an El Clasico.
Yeah, should be fun. Hopefully, we'll be able to bring you the results of that one. El Clasicos are always fun.
Yes.
Now, we're going to get into what I've been looking forward to this entire show. We're going to go over the short list of the players of the month and the managers of the month for November, December in the English Premier League. Our nominations are, for players, Casemiro, Erling Haaland, Ben Mee, Martin Odegaard, Palhinha, Marcus Rashford, Bukayo Saka, and Kieran Trippier. Who's your bet?
So looking at the games that they've played in that November, December, there's only one clear, obvious choice for me. I mean, even if you're not an Arsenal fan, it's got to be Martin Odegaard, man. Played 4, won 4. He's got 3 goals and 3 assists in 4 games.
Yeah.
How do you not say him? There's no one close to him.
No, I wish I had an argument here. It's a clear choice for this one. It's not really close. I mean, yeah, Holland has 4 goals in 4 games, but they only
didn't
won
win all
2
those
of
games,
them.
though, did they?
No. Rashford's got 2 goals and assist, but they won 3 and not 4. Saka won 4, but he's got 2 goals and assist. Both of his goals were assisted by Martin Odegaard.
So, I mean, yeah, he's got 6 goal contributions in 4 games. He had more than any of the other players listed for this player of the month.
Yeah. Not to mention the highest XG out of any player in those games and 2 men of the match performances. So, yeah, there's no competition here. It's Martin Odegaard. And this is not me being biased, but that's what the stats say.
Honestly, I don't even know how Casemiro is even on this list.
He's had good performances defensively.
I guess.
I don't know.
They've won 3 out of the 4 games.
Why Ben Mee is on
and
this
he has
list,
1 assist.
I don't know either. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be along the same lines of the managers of the month category as well. There are some coaches on there. I don't know why they're on there, but they're on there. So, speaking of which, those coaches are Mikel Arteta, Thomas Frank, Eddie Howe, and Jurgen Klopp. For me, there's only one answer, but what's your argument, Tyler?
Well, so Arteta, manager of Arsenal, Eddie Howe, manager of Newcastle, Thomas Frank, he's the manager of Brentford, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so double check, had a little brain fart there. And then Jurgen Klopp, manager of Liverpool. So if you want to go off stats and the games they won, so Arteta, it was 4 games, he won 4 games. Klopp played 4 games, won 4 games. Thomas Frank, 4 games, had 2 wins. And then 2 draws to Forest and Spurs. Eddie Howe for Newcastle, he had 3 wins from the 4 and a draw to Leeds. I think, honestly, the only reason Thomas Frank is in that conversation is one of those wins was against Manchester City.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, the football they've been playing has been really good. All 4 of these coaches are the only 4 coaches that didn't have a loss in the last 4 games.
Yeah.
So I think that's why all of them are on the list. Ultimately, I think it's a 2-horse race between Jurgen Klopp and Mikel Arteta. But with Klopp really only beating one team that you could consider a top team, and Arteta beating arguably 2, having 4 convincing victories, I think Arteta is my choice for this one. I don't see how Jurgen Klopp gets this one.
So yeah, going off those games, I mean, 4 wins is 4 wins.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to go off that, then yeah, Klopp should be up there and talked about. But obviously, we have the pleasure of hindsight. We've seen the games since then, so I don't know if that plays a little, has a little effect on who you would pick to be manager of the month. Kind of does for me. So I wouldn't pick Klopp.
For me, it's how much of these games that Arteta and Arsenal have played have not been close. I mean, the Chelsea score was 1-0, but there was no chance that Chelsea was going to win that game. And then you got...
No, that was a tough game.
Arsenal dominated that whole game. It should have been 2-3-0. And I mean, the Brighton game, 4-2. West Ham coming down 3-1. I think the amount of goals and the free-flowing football that Arteta and Arsenal have been playing right now versus Klopp, who won 4 in a row, but before that wasn't looking very good, kind of looking like Chelsea, and then they lose their first game of the new year. Granted, this is player or manager of the month for November and December, not January or October. But those games were much closer than Arsenal's were. And Arsenal is just playing better at the moment. So I have to give it to Mikel Arteta.
I'll argue for Eddie Howe. He got a win against the Saints. You expect him to win. Then he gets a win against Chelsea, a win against Leicester again, which you expect him to win. The game against Leeds, they definitely outplayed Leeds, had the better of the chances, and it ended in a draw. So, and then obviously this last game, again, we're only looking at November, December, not looking at January, but coming into January, Newcastle are still looking very good, and Eddie Howe is doing an amazing job there. So, I guess I could argue for him.
No argument for Jurgen Klopp, huh?
Nah. If you look at the game, Spurs, Southampton, Aston Villa, and Leicester, Liverpool should be winning those games.
Yeah, the Spurs one was tricky. Ultimately, they ran away with it, but the other three are in the bottom end of the table. They should beat those teams. You're right.
And then, so that's where I would argue against Arteta. Is the Chelsea game I see as the real, bugaboo game, potentially the Brighton game. But the other two, you would expect them to win. Wolves, who are down at the bottom, West Ham are down at the bottom, not performing well.
So, yeah, only time will tell with these. But yeah, I pick Arteta. Sounds like you pick Arteta as well?
Kind of, yeah. Reluctantly. I'd like to pick Eddie Howe, just to be different again.
Yeah, I would too. The 3 wins from 4 versus 4 wins from 4. Notoriously knowing, the Premier League, they're going to pick the person who has 4 wins out of 4 versus 3 wins out of 4. So,
and like you say, it was the goals, the amount of goals they scored in those games.
Yeah. All right.
The Wolves, West Ham, Brighton, multiple goals.
So that's all I got for today.
Yeah. So, guess that wraps up this episode here of Brews and Banter.
Yes, it does. I'm all out of beer anyway, so make sure
sounds
to
like you need
us,
another brew.
Subscribe, all of our channels, YouTube, Spotify, Apple TV, Audible, all your
Apple
places
Podcasts,
where you get your
not Apple
podcasts.
TV.
Apple Podcasts, my bad. It's not iTunes. At least I didn't say that. Make sure to check out our Facebook group. A lot of good discussions on there. Check out our Instagram and TikTok profiles as well. But till next time, we're all out of beer, and you heard our banter. That's it for Brews and Banter.
All right. Cheers, everybody. Thank you.
Cheers.